everyone. So, oh, haha. I forgot, this is Anime Chat number 3. Forget the 2. Just throw it out the window. So, I am still kinda sick, but I'm still here to give you a video. So, this is the 3rd, yes, 3, Anime Chat. Now, there will be spoilers ahead, and if you haven't guessed it by the song, and I definitely know you might not get it from the icon in the corner, and if you cannot see it, it's a wall with a blood stain on it. Now, why is that relevant? Before I even answer the question, let me say this. The show that I am about to review, or chat about, is intended for people who are over 18. You can watch it if you would like, under the age of 18, but I strongly advise you, if you are going to do it, do not let your parents be around. For the reasons of, it is a horror anime, but that is not the reason. The reason is, things that are shown in this anime should never be shown to adults if you are like 13. If you are 13 and you are watching this show and you're not creeped out by anything, especially at any young age, I give you credit, because the first time I tried to watch this, I had to turn it off at episode 1. It wasn't until a year later where I actually got into it. This show has a lot of controversy around it, and maybe from this warning of it being explicit of females and things like that, you understand what show I'm trying to reference here. So I'm going to warn you that near the end of this video, I will be showing two pictures, and there are only 2 examples that this is the type of things that will be shown in this anime. They are not overly explicit, but I will warn you closer to it about it, and I will be going by it fast, because it is something that I'm slightly uncomfortable trying to discuss seriously without going on a rant about it. So, I'll pick it up when we get there. So, the show that I will be doing is High School of the Dead. Now, the show came out in 2010. When this show came out, there was a lot of controversy over it. And there are probably fans of this show that wish they weren't. As much as they love the show, it can be embarrassing to tell people that you are a fan of this show. Now, and I will probably go over why. But, the plot. The plot of the show is basically a group of high school students and a nurse and a little girl who get wrapped up in the zombie apocalypse, and they're trying to survive. So that's where the whole High School of the Dead comes in, because the first 2 episodes are at the high school, and I'm going to definitely go over that more in the next slide, but it's basically a bunch of students trying to survive the zombie apocalypse. And it's not just them, it's basically the entire world trying to survive. Now, the setting. I put 3 images here to show 3 different aspects. Now, the upper image is basically how the show starts off. If you just kind of ignore the body in the front, this is how everything is kind of seen. It's nice and peaceful. The animation is very well done. And there are like blooming sakura trees and nothing's in shambles. Then this is like in the first episode. As the first episode goes on, this school then turns into this, where everything seems to go into shambles. And out of the entire show, the most disturbing part for me would be what happens probably maybe 10 minutes into the first episode, where everything kicks off. And I'll kind of go over it a little bit more. But as the show goes on, you then see things like this, where the entire world is in shambles. And yes, if you know the monuments in this is in the U.S., in Washington, D.C., because in the show, they reference the President of the United States, and how everything, not in just Japan, but in the U.S., and probably Russia and Europe as well. And this scene is kind of almost heartbreaking as well, because this is him trying to figure out what to do, but the people around him are dying. He basically dies also as well in this scene. And having to see how the government would react to this situation, and also what happens to the government, is kind of shocking, because some people believe that, oh, if the apocalypse happens, then everyone will think that the government knows what they're doing. They'll help us out. Not necessarily. Some people are just selfish and won't do anything about it. Now, I'm not trying to bash the government, I'm really not. I'm just saying that there are people who think that the government will help, some people think they will not help. In a situation like a apocalyptic type saying, you do not know what will happen, because some people don't understand that there are situations that are just cannot be completed successfully. So you never know what will happen. So basically, these students go from the high school setting to around the town, and they get to see how their town is affected by this. And some of the things that you see are very, well, they're very touching. Like, they can go from a tiny thing, like a bunch of coffee cups are like broken on the ground in the diner, and there's like destroyed chairs, to a big car crash. People are trying to get through the gates, and they're just like the dead walking on them. Either way, tiny things also are important in the show, which I like. Now, the characters. So, basically, the cast of characters are made up of 5 high school students, a little girl and a dog, and a high school nurse. They are, I'll start with this image because they have the names on them, starting from the top left, then just going in this rectangle motion. We have Komuro Takashi, Yamamoto Rei, Bushuyama Saiko, Mirakuwa Shizuka, Hirano Kota, and Takagi Saya. And then also you have Zero the dog and Alice the little girl. And Alice the girl doesn't come in for a while, but the high school students, while they're in their high school setting and all that, they are fighting back. They do know how to at least work simple things into weapons. Hirano, the guy on the lower row, he made a nail gun in seconds. And he's really good at weapons, so he knows what he's doing. And Seiko, the one with purple hair, is in the kendo club, so she can fight. Rei has a military or a police dad, so she's familiar with guns and kind of fighting back. Saya, she's the rich girl of the group, and I'm not fully aware on how she knows her abilities of fighting, but she doesn't really want to do it a lot. She lets the others take over for her. And then we have Takashi, our protagonist, who he fights back when he needs to, and he's a great main character in my opinion. He's one of my top male main characters of all time. And if you saw my previous top 10 list of female characters, I will make a male character thing, and he will probably show up, because I loved him a lot. Now, these characters, even though they all have like a different type of view, they all work together to try to survive. And they go from people who, they've seen them in school, through the hall. Yeah, some of them do know each other from when they were little, but they do work together now. Now, one of the big controversies that everyone has is over the nurse, Shizuka. Now, she's a young adult, she knows her medical science, and we know this for a fact from her trying to estimate the zombies trying to rot, and also the OVA, which I will get into later on. But, a lot of people say that out of all the characters, she is so useless, she is not needed in the show. But I think everyone in every show, you kinda need that one, like, dunce character. But she knows what she's doing when it comes to the medical reason. So, if there is a second season going to be coming out, then they can definitely put that to use. If a second season comes out, and it's not confirmed, I'm not confirming anything, if they do, and they do not use her ability, then I will think she's kind of useless, because she complains all the time. And so far we see her as she can drive, so that is an important role in any apocalyptic scene, because being able to drive means you can run the zombies over. You can do something about that. She can. Even though a lot of people complain about her explosive outfit and such, and how she just shows off her goods, and how she just gets drunk at times. She knows what she's doing. Also, in the show, they go to a place that has all these weapons, all the utilities that they need, and they wouldn't have found it if it wasn't for her. So, point being said, she can do what she needs to do at times. I agree, she's a little bit useless, and they do explicit her more than other characters, so they need to stop what they're doing with that and actually focus on the horror aspect. Now, bringing up the explicitness of the show, you have 3 characters. You could say that this is also a harem anime, because you have the 3 main girls who like Takashi in one way or another, and who try to kind of flirt with him a little bit and lean on him, and the opening of the entire anime is so worth watching, but there are scenes in that they made a little bit too graphic. They shouldn't have done that to the characters, and you're just kind of flaunting them, which I did not like. And in the OVA, they did that a lot. Along with, I think, episode 4 or 5. And they should just focus on the horror aspects, because you have him also being kind of a perv a little bit, which does not fly. Okay, now moving on. The work and design. Artwork. Wow. So, I think that everything that they add to the show, as in like little trinkets of drawing items, I think they're important. And if they have certain things in here that you may not notice the first time, but the second time, they're great. So, like, this scene over here where, oh, you just see people walking, you think they're going to school, then you notice all the blood. Everything they do in this show is really well done. All the drawings are great. And it's kind of hard to draw, like, death scenes without it being so cheesy and actually make you scared, which this show made me. It made me scared and made me so interested in zombie things, I gotta tell ya. And like, there are shows that the blood looks so fake, like it's either too bright or too liquidy, or it isn't in the right proportion. So, realistically, this show, their death scenes and their zombie quality was great. I think the only thing I would say is I wish the zombies looked kind of more, like, rotten over time, like they do in The Walking Dead. But I like them. They look great, and also how all the other characters react with all, like, little things again, with, like, veins in their eyes, or, like, just drool sobbing out. It really helps give a emotion and all that. So I think the artwork and design was really well, the lighting for everything, the color palette was great, and they showed everything well. Now, the anime and the manga. I decided to choose the same image and put them up next to each other to see how they work. Now, as you can probably see that there are characters that are in this shot, in the anime shot, but then in the manga shot, they're not that detailed. But the other way around is as well. I started reading the manga. I'm not finished yet, so I can't say much about it, but it definitely continues on to where the anime should be going. And having bought the most expensive manga book I have ever bought in my life, which is this like, fucking special version of it, I can tell you that things do not get easier with... I mean, the zombie killing, I like it in the anime more, because I like hearing the screams better, like seeing all that death better, which is a little bit wrong, but it is. But as in character designs, the manga is so much better, and I think they did probably a better job with certain things. And I think in the manga, they're in the school a little bit longer than the anime, which is what got me to do the show in the first place. I like high school shows, so yeah. But in the anime and the manga, both of them are very explicit, and to me, a lot of females have trouble watching it, and males as well, I can't leave them out, because of how explicit it is. So, reading it when you go and buy the manga, it's wrapped in plastic, some of the volumes, because of what's on the inside. So, that should tell you that there's something up with it. Along with, I think on the cover, it even says for 18 and older. So, yeah. But, from what I've read so far, and actually completing the anime, I think it's a very good version of it. And I'm excited if they make more of the anime, I really am. So I can't wait to see what happens. Now, the soundtrack that we're listening to. The opening song is fucking fantastic, and people will probably say that the opening song is, with the animation, is one of the best ever. Yes. But what makes the show unique in a way that I haven't seen before is the ending song, or just about every single episode, is different. And it helps set a tone of where the show is at the moment. So, you have, near the beginning of the show, you'll have more sadder, kind of dramatic songs that kind of give you, like, pity, and you're so upset, and you have nowhere to go, where it's like a fighting scene. You have really a overpowering, like, really determination song that gets your heart racing, and it helps you get prepared for the battle. And then near the end of the show, where it does have a happy, like, turn for the season, and it does actually, if you watch it, it absolutely hints that there will be more. You just have to get through the ending song, because they hint it so much. It's right there, where they reveal a character that's in the manga, but she shows up after all the incidents, everything that happens. But as the ending goes on, for like the last episode, you kind of have like a happier song. So yay, things are turning out bright. But another thing that I forgot to mention with the artwork is, with every ending song, it's kind of sad when you think about it, but with characters that you meet throughout the episodes, they'll add a picture of them. And, like, okay, this is kind of like a thing where, with Alice and her dad, I think, let's go with the first episode. There are a group of teachers that you meet in the first episode, and as the episode ends, you see a picture of them there. It's like happier pictures of happier times, but they're all dead. All these people are dead, except for pictures of the main cast, which they will have around, but they will have pictures of all the dead characters in the shows, which really touched me that they would do something like this, because it's like they're making a memorial wall for them, for all the characters that you meet throughout the entire show, and they just have a nice place for you to see them. But other than that, the soundtrack really does work with what is going on in the show. Now, the next images that I will show you, they're split up into two slides. One is kind of like how dark the show can go. Then the other one is what I warned everyone about in the beginning with it, the explicit side and all that. So, before I even go on to those images, I'm going to talk about the OVA episode, because out of everything that this series has done for me, that is the one episode that creeps me out the most. They should have never had it. But it does make slight sense in the end, where they escape their main island to a tiny island, and they see a beach resort thing, they go into bathing suits, and they accidentally burn special leaves that gives them hallucinations, and it just turns into a Yuri fest. Yuri and leading into a hentai thing, which a show about horror and zombies should not have this. They made this just because they wanted to please fans, because someone probably asked for it. It should have not happened, and the only relevant part in it is that you get to see the nurse's wisdom of, she knew medical things, she knew what was wrong, but she got trapped in the hallucination as well. And also, you have the girl Alice. She gives you kind of like an explanation of, oh, how did we get here, and all that blah blah blah. Those are the two relevant points. Now, the next slide is going to be the two things of excuse me. Two things of kind of like the horror aspect of things. Where I'll start with the image on the right, because believe it or not, out of the two of them, the one on the right seems the calmest, seems like the better solution. Now, here in this scene, you have the cast of characters and a horde of zombies. An entire horde. And, I mean, it's horrifying if you're standing there. And not to freak anyone out, they have a sword and 3 guns. And a car that kind of broke down a little bit. But that's it. That's all they have right now. And they have to get through an entire horde of zombies. Is that terrifying? Yes. Also, they don't have backup because all the backup died. There's nothing. Only them. So you gotta get that. That's a huge road. I know the picture doesn't seem it. That's a big road under a bridge. So yeah, horror. But what would get me more of a attention thing would be what's on my left. Now, there could have been so many ways that I could have done this, where I could have found the clip of all of this and play it and just let you guys watch it, but I'm not that mean. I'm going to just let you do that. It's in episode 1. This is the scene that I told you I turned off and I had to wait a year. Now, this is probably a couple of seconds after the principal said, oh, it seems like we have a problem, everyone, you need to evacuate, and then they hear him die on the intercom. The music for this is not that fitting for what I'm talking about right now, but what can you do? So, after hearing all that, everyone goes in a horror, like, they all just run. They try to escape, and there is other clips of hundreds of students in the hallways trying to run. And this is what I found kind of terrifying, because you have people trying to run for their lives, but they don't care about each other. Where you have one guy trying to run over a girl, and his foot is about to land on her head, while the other one, he is stepping on her, like kind of at an angle so it's on her shoulder and in her neck. They're trying to run away from zombies, or they're trying to escape, where, sorry about that, where if they all stayed in place, where they did not move, all of them would have been alive. All these students who run, frantic, panic, don't know what to do with themselves because they haven't seen the horror or what's about to happen. They're all running for their lives outside to where the horror is. So if they all just stay inside, if they were all calm, they would have actually lived. And that's very painful for me, because after that, then you just see images of students eating each other. People who already turned, just eating each other. And it's terrifying, especially when you walk out on, like, a balcony, you look down at the gym class, and you see all these female volleyball people trying to climb away, where they're being pulled down by their feet into the horror, where they have no energy to get out. But another aspect of it is, there's a clip of a teacher who, it's a little bit different in the manga about this, because they do show, I think, the same incident, but they do change it in the manga. But there is a teacher who, he is a gym teacher, and he's walking through the halls, mumbling to himself about how today was, what was it? It was like recruitment day or so, and he was like just saying how he has to like greet all the new players and all these like parents. He has to give a speech today, this assembly. All of a sudden, he jumps out a window to his death. He is so stricken by what's going on, he cannot take it anymore, and he kills himself. And things like this, horror like this, where students are pulling each other out of the way by their hair, slamming them on the ground, and friends who would just leave their friends behind, trying to get away, but ending up getting karma back at them. Horror like that, done in a great way in anime, turns out to be really frightening. If it's done in a cheap, pathetic way, you're going to sit there saying, they're fucking assholes, or this is so dumb, and trying to question it. Here, you're sitting there in silence, in horror, picturing how you and your classmates would have done this. And it's a terrible, terrible thing that this show, the creators of this show, the people who animated this, did a fantastic job showing the horror. And like in the last anime chat that I did, I was talking about how I'm the type of person that likes like horror, graphic, like all that, and this made me shake that I couldn't do it for a year. So I give it so much credit for doing the horror aspect. It did a great job, and as a horror anime, it needs more recognition than what it has. Now the element that brings it down would be what's on the next slides. This song should not also be what the next thing should be, but in the next slides, I'm The image on your right is the one that I don't know if I'm going to get anything towards. So please do not flag or report the video for this, because I warned you. I'm going to try and, I would say skip the next 5 minutes, because that's all I'm going to be talking about it, and then I'm moving on. So please, I recommend you skipping about 5 minutes after I change the slides. But if you are willing to hear me out about what element that they overdo a lot, you can stay tuned. But I am warning you that there are things that will be shown that are not meant for people who are at least under 17. Alright. So, the image on the... I'm going to start with the cleaner, basically better one. But, there you go. There you go. So, the one on the right does happen in the show, and it does show a better side of Takashi, but the thing that the show does a lot is explicit behavior and all that, where you have people who will just strip, not caring, and also to people who will assault the characters, like the guy on the right. And out of all the characters of the show, he is probably one of the biggest douchebags I've ever seen in anime. Probably. But it doesn't beat the teacher that's also in this. He's up there with one of the biggest douchebags I've ever met. Even though what he says about what he's, like, done is sad, but, I mean, the characters are very overly graphic, and people do kind of feel a bit offended by it, and I kind of did. I didn't like it, and it made me kind of question the show entirely, that people would do this, and I don't know why. I really don't, but, I mean, I wish it wouldn't have happened, but everything in this show is done for a reason. Some things are so stupid, though. Like, the image on the left, she couldn't take the gun off of her, so he just decided to shoot while it was on her. And where the bullet goes is wrong. Now that was wrong. So, my overall ranking, even though with all the behavior like that, I give it an 8 out of 10. Now, even though it's a great horror anime and all that, and it made me frightened shitless, is the fact that it's overly explicit, and the OVA made me drop it 2 stars. If it wasn't like that, it would easily be at a 10-star anime for me. But it is not, because of that aspect. My overall comment is, if you can see this show as a horror show and bear through everything that they do with how they show the characters off, it is a great show. And it's a show that I would recommend to veterans, but also people who are over the age of 16. That is who I would recommend it to. It is intentional for people who are over 18, but I would recommend it to people who are veterans of anime and that are over the age of 16. Because at least if the parents walk in on them they can at least say it's anime, and hopefully their parents won't bust them or something. So, if you like the video and you want to see some more, why don't you subscribe down below? And also, if you like to see anything that you want to see, leave a suggestion down at the bottom, and I'll either do an anime chat, or if you want to see something that we do, just leave it down in the comments, and we'll get to ya. Alright, bye!